Hi, this is Nick Bayard with the Lessons for Success and Happiness video series. This video is all about producing prolific art. And whether you're a professional or an amateur artist, musician, writer, I'm going to share some tools that I think can be valuable for you when it comes to producing prolifically, consistently, and in a way that feels like you're getting things done. I think producing art is one of the most challenging things we can do because it's kind of like endurance training for a sport, except you don't necessarily get to see the benefits right away. If you go for a run, if you're training for a marathon, you feel better after that run. You can see how many miles you've run. You can even map it out on a course and say, gosh, I did a good job. I ran this far. If you are producing creatively, you don't get to do that. You don't necessarily get to go back and say, well, I wrote 3 things that didn't work and then I deleted them. That doesn't feel as good. You have to kind of wait for that gem to come, and then you get to celebrate. So I guess that's to start by saying that all artists are in solidarity in that way. I think we feel each other's pain, and we need to recognize that it is pain, and we sometimes have to push through it. But I'm encouraging you to do that. And I've spent about 20 years writing, recording, producing music on and off. And through that process, I've discovered some ways that that make it less painful and more productive and more positive and just happier thing to produce and write art. And my primary art is music. So I've recorded and written songs for bands. I have recorded as a solo artist. I have an album of children's folk music with my son called Wishing Well. And I've set deadlines for myself because I know that without deadlines, it's hard to get things done. So I think the first thing is, whether you're a professional or an amateur, set some deadlines for yourself and set some goals. And then in order to get to those goals, I think probably the most important thing, and I think a lot of artists already know this, but I'm going to say it, is to set aside sacred creative time every day and get militant about it. So if your time is 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, when 7 o'clock hits, everything is out of that room except for what you need to be creative. Your phone is out of the room. If you're writing on the computer, your internet access is off. Your other browsers are closed. No one is to disturb you during that time, and people know that. So that you have basically that 2 hours to work, and you set yourself that goal and that limit. And you might get to the end of that first 2 hours and have produced nothing. And that's okay. That's normal. I've heard Tom Waits talk about the creative muse as sort of a separate entity that comes and visits. And that rings true to me because a lot of times I'll be sitting and trying to write, nothing will be coming out. And then other days everything will be clicking, I'll be coming up with rhymes that turn into songs. And I almost feel like that's not even up to me, whether or not the creative muse comes. Taking that pressure off and sort of putting it on some external entity that comes to visit, I like that idea because I can get to the end of my 2 hours and feel like I've done my work. And if the creative muse doesn't show up, that's not my fault. I've put in my time. And maybe the creative muse will show up tomorrow. And it usually does. So I'd encourage you to stay persistent. It's not going to feel good, but do not let yourself break that time that you set for yourself. If you get to 7:30 and you're 30 minutes in, nothing's happened, don't go check your phone. Force yourself to sit there. If you have to actually lock yourself to the desk, do that. I've heard of songwriters who will be asked to be locked into rooms until they write a song. People get militant with it. There's another technique that can feel kind of extreme, but I think it's been valuable for me. I was in a band in Washington, D.C., where a bandmate and I were so committed to writing songs that we decided to put some financial skin in the game. We both wrote $200 checks to a friend of ours. It was obviously somebody we trusted. And we said, if we don't provide to you 4 completed songs each within a month, you can cash both of our checks. And that was enough pressure to make it happen. We each produced 4 songs, and we had 8 songs with which to start recording an album. Accountability is really important, and if you can be accountable to a friend, somebody who's doing the same kind of thing, can be really valuable. I had an English professor in college who would require us to write her a daily email. The title was supposed to be daily, and it didn't matter what we wrote in the email as long as we sent it. So it could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a paragraph, it could be a dissertation. But as long as we sent something that we'd written, it showed her that we were invested in that process of creating every day. And if you can find an accountability buddy who will hold you to that standard of receiving an email every day from you, if you're a writer, I think that'll really help you get the creative juices flowing. And all these things, they prime your brain for creativity to work through you in ways that wouldn't happen if you weren't diligent about sticking to the routine. So if I'm just hoping that creativity will happen, it might, but it might not. But if I am saying to myself and to the universe, I'm committed to this creative process of writing songs, writing a book, writing whatever it is, creating graphic art, my brain is going to be primed to be receiving things that can be translated into creative projects. So I might be triggered by something out during the day that says, oh, that would be a great song, or wouldn't that be a great word to stick into that particular line. So it's about priming your brain, sticking to the process, knowing that there are thousands and millions of other artists struggling with this same thing should give you some sense of solidarity. I've struggled with it, and I've ended up, over 20 years writing and producing songs, probably about 50 songs that I'm proud of, and about 200 songs that will never see the light of day. So if you stick with it, you will produce, like it or not, you will produce. And I just offer this video as a way to encourage you to set some concrete steps into your life so that you can produce prolific art. Thanks for watching.